All right, good morning. It is June 9th. This is a work session for the planning board. We have two items in front of us this morning. The first one is a multi-tenant sign plan for 6870 East Genesee Street. And then we're also going to talk about 3350 changing use. I think first in front of us, got 6870 East Genesee.
I'm Peter Elitzer. I'm the owner of the property, so I'm here for hopefully can answer any questions.
Okay. And Sophia, you with Peter?
No, I'm just a student here to watch.
Oh, okay, wonderful. Welcome. All right, so Peter, why don't you give us a rundown of the proposal here?
Okay, the immediate request was from Bayberry Uniforms. They're currently occupying the former Peter Harris closed space. The lease with them is actually for only 3,500 square feet of the slightly more than 12,000 square feet of that space. And we allow them to use the whole thing until we lease the other roughly 8,500 square feet. We have somebody we're very close to deal with. It's a medical tenant, but that's not it's not done till it's done. There's a letter of intent out there, but it's not yet fully signed, but it's being negotiated. So I'm hopeful about that. So we may, quite frankly, be back in here in another few weeks with some other change, but at least at the moment, this is what he's looking for. And I think I don't know what else you need from me. I think you may or may not have um, the full plaza application. I think all that is in at this point. So let me know what you're missing, and we can certainly supply that as quick as we can get the architect to move.
So thank you, Peter. This is Eric. I called you the other day.
Oh, hi, Eric.
Initially, when we were looking at this, it seemed that the second building had its own sign plan. But as I dug a little more into it, the application in 2012 actually used elevations of the main building and just put the signage on that. So
Eric, it's even worse than that. The front of that building is in fact the Peter Harris building, so that was screwed up. But the side, which is actually the one facing the street, is actually correct. So I'm not quite sure, who shuffled what around, but clearly it was goofed up. So we're getting another architect in to redraw that building. The other one I think you have and is accurate and in good shape, but there was an error made in 2012 that we never caught. I'm going to guess that it was Jim Hagan that sent that in because he was the architect we used at the time, but I wouldn't swear to that at this point.
Yep. That's kind of what I saw too. So that's really what we're here just trying to clean up and get a signage plan for the whole plaza, both buildings. We do have the elevations for the main building first.
Right.
And Matt Reel from Fast Signs did present this to the board last Thursday as a concept presentation. And I think the comments from that, which I'll work with Matt directly, but basically we're looking to just have a dashed in box that will show the allowable signage area, which you kind of already have. But to have this be a plan going forward for all the future tenants, we'll ask that you just remove the actual tenant name. And then we'll end up with basically an area on the building where the signage is allowed. And then one thing we'll talk about this morning is basically the design of the signage or the type, whether it's channel letters. I think these Tompkins ones that exist today are just non-illuminated standoff letters. The well now has a raceway channel behind it where the electrical is mounted. So we're just looking to get a consistent design throughout the whole plaza. I believe what's currently proposed are channel letters, flush mounted without a raceway. I did talk with Matt, and this drawing is a little misleading. I don't believe they're going to have a backer panel, and the term cabinet, there's a cabinet sign, which is basically a box sign, which is not allowed in this zoning district. I don't think what that is indicating. So I did ask Matt to just basically take this graphic, if that's what they're actually proposing, and if that's what the board feels appropriate for the plaza, and put that on the other drawing. So this just shows a flush mount channel letter with the raceway inside the building.
Okay. I'll make sure that that's what's done, because we certainly would prefer channel letters. That's what when we had our retail store, that's certainly what we did. And we can do that. Now, my question to be on Well Now, we don't have the lease right to force them to change the existing sign. So that would have to require, when they either change or upgrade their sign, I'm assuming that's satisfactory to you, that we just make sure that they conform. And obviously you have the advantage of being able to either issue a permit or not, in order to be able to get that to conform, because I would certainly be happy with that myself.
Yeah, the way we've done this in the past with multi-tenant sign plans is we establish the standard now, and that as your tenants turn over, they're required to comply with the standard.
Okay.
So
Perfectly reasonable.
establishing now to have, if you want to go with the channel letters on the building, I think that's great. We can make that the standard, and we'll define the parameters by what those channel letters are. And then as, let's say in 2 years, Well Now moves out and somebody else moves in and wants to put a sign on, they can't reuse the existing. They need to comply with the multi-tenant sign plan.
That's perfectly reasonable. I have no problem with that at all. And quite frankly, you would be helping me get the consistency that I would like. We've had that as a challenge over the years, and particularly in the case of Well Now, they actually bought out the business that was there, and then of course they're now a huge corporation, and they kind of, I hate to say they dictate the landlords, but they kind of call the shots. So this gives me some leverage. So I appreciate that.
Right.
Good.
So you mentioned you'll be getting a second tenant in the Peter Harris space. Where would a sign
That's the
for
plan.
that tenant be?
Well, that's why I'm thinking that we may want to redraw that now. The trouble is we don't have the tenant in place, and that could change things. The current expectation, as you're facing that with the Bayberry uniforms, and by the way, this just literally came up at the end of last week. We've got this prospect. If you look at that, if you move the Bayberry sign would probably be moving to the left, and we would probably encourage them. The entrance would be where the windows are to the extreme left. We would have an entrance there, and we still have to get the architect to work out essentially an area probably flush with the building that was where their sign would go. So that I will not tell you that we have that solved right now. We just literally recognized in the last few days that the way he's got that position is actually not satisfactory, and it needs to be shifted over. And quite frankly, rather than having him start out in the center only to make him move it to the left, makes no sense. And then we have to obviously have something that is aesthetically pleasing to make sure that it doesn't look like he's kind of shoved off as an afterthought, but in fact, has a decent, facade to be able to hang a sign on. So we're still working on that challenge and still mindful of the cost benefit of it.
Okay, so you're thinking as part of this multi-tenant sign application, putting in a second tenant up there, like a second sign space?
I think honestly that makes more sense. And I hate to delay this. He's an awfully nice guy, the guy from Bayberry Uniforms, and he's been very tolerant and patient. He's kind of lived with minimal signage there. So he's anxious to get away. We want to be able to help him, but it seems silly to have him do something that's going to literally be changed, hopefully be changed sometime in the next, 3 or 4 months. So I think it's best to maybe take a little pause until we get this thing redrawn properly.
Okay, and then,
So I mean, just one consideration from my architectural eye is that we take the Bayberry and we shift it over. I know there's no possibility of a new tenant, but the new door is not gonna necessarily be there. The existing door is not necessarily gonna shift right now, what I'm just saying, unless you wanna undertake doing the full project right now, so we're talking about shifting.
No, we're not there. I think we would leave the existing doors where they are.
Right.
And it's possible that the architect will come back to us and say, you need to make a common entranceway for both tenants. But as a retailer, I would look at it and say, gee, I'd like to have the doorway into my space and not have a common entranceway. But again,
Right.
I would like to say to you, we've got that all completely thought out and planned. We don't, but it sounds to me like we need to do that before we actually get this thing finally approved.
Yeah, because I think where I'm going is if we take paper and we just shift it off center and nothing ends up happening, it's gonna look awkward on the facade of the building to have this sign off to the left with a center entrance and no other tenant sign up there, which is gonna. So I'd like to see a more thought out plan about what you actually want to do. I could see if the door shifted over to the left and the sign shifted over to the left, then it kind of makes sense.
Mhm.
You know, but to just shift the sign over and leave the door as is with nothing else on the right seems very unbalanced.
No,
Not well thought out.
that's not the current conversations that we've had. The expectation is that the door for them will shift and the sign will shift. And then my belief is that the existing door would stay put for the new tenant, which is a much larger space. And I believe that the demising wall between the two interior spaces falls someplace, I think between the extreme left side windows and the window just immediately to the left of the doorway. But I don't quote me on that. That's just my belief.
Yeah, so I think it's a great plan, you know, or a great potential use of the space. I would like to see before we approve kind of the master or the multi-tenant sign plan to have that thought out or thought through a little bit more on your end so that we understand what this is gonna look like.
Mm-hmm.
That's possible.
Yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. We'll try and turn that around as quickly as we can, and we'll reapply. I would be surprised if we were able to make that June 28th meeting with that level of revision, and maybe we'll get somebody to focus on it. I'm assuming for an architect, this is pretty straightforward stuff, but I can't sit here and speak for them. So we may come back to you and ask for a new date, but I think we're tentatively on for the 28th, and I like having targets that can maybe get other people, professionals, to move a little bit faster, getting their work done. So we'll see what happens.
and just FYI, from the department, if any work you're gonna do, moving doors or anything internal, will need a building permit.
Right. No, I'm clearly aware of that because we also have to separate out the utilities and it's not it's not a trivial project. So we realize this is not like we're painting the walls. We're doing a little bit more work. So no, I'm very definitely aware we need to get a building permit for that.
Okay, and we just wanna make sure also that the facade behind the new sign or signs gets fixed. Right now, it looks, you can still see the Peter Harris. We just wanna make sure that all gets repaired before any new signage is put up.
Yeah, no, that would obviously we need to do that for the tenant's sake, and I can't tell you the number of tenants that we had with letters of intent that fell apart for one reason or another, financing or just other bizarre things. So we never intended to have the building vacant for this length of time. We would have left the Peter Harris there continuing to operate until we had a viable tenant for the whole space. And that's why the Peter Harris originally moved out, because the prospective tenant was paying more rent than we were paying, and the best laid plans, they say, it didn't work out.
Okay,
While we've got you on, let's talk about the other building too.
yeah, I just want to clarify one thing, Bill and I were just talking about. Your intent and the way that you would like to see this building go in the future is all channel letter on the building. Is it internally lit?
I would say that that's the tenant decision. I can't imagine that they would want to have a sign that wasn't lit. But that's the case.
So moving forward, your intent with the building is to do channel letter, and then as you have tenant turnover, is to bring them into compliance with the multi-tenant sign plan for this building.
Yes, yeah,
Right.
that's the game plan right now.
Okay. You want to talk about the other building real fast?
Yes. So for the other building, are you also need to do channel letters for all of these, or is this a building that gets more turnover?
The current tenants in there, I know that the Healing Point, I believe, has at least another 5 years left on the lease. But I'm going from memory, and the front space, which is the gym, is I think has 9 years left on their lease, so nothing is changing in the short run.
But do you want this to be kind of a consistent plaza? And
Oh,
what I
yes,
think.
absolutely. So that when there's turnover, then we're going to try and get that to be more consistent. The challenge in this one is that one is a common entrance
Right.
for both the gym and Healing Point.
So this would be one that I'd
that's
like
not
to
like
roll into that multi-tenant sign plan, so you have a whole plaza plan, multi-tenant sign plan. So that eventually the lettering and the style is all consistent in there, and that we know where that signage is gonna go in the building, or on the building, pardon me. So can you have whoever's doing your design, add this building to that so that we can see where the signage is intended? And include this building as part of that whole package, so that there's consistency across the plaza?
right. We can do that, but I just want to be clear is that there would be no we can't change what's there now. It's only if there's tenant turnover that we have
Correct,
the
but we
opportunity to be
understand
able
that,
to.
we're looking for that consistency, so that when there is turnover, you're bringing it all into compliance.
That would be fine with us, absolutely.
And then can you see the screen right now?
I can, yes.
So some other things that I'd like to have you address with your tenants, that quote unquote for sale sign is not allowed. That's gotta be removed.
Is that there now? I would be surprised if it is.
So this is an image from 2019. I'm not sure how it looks today. This is the latest I have.
Yeah, that's not current. It's because it's not. It's got the real estate broker who was in there for many years and left around that time, and we filled it in with the gym.
Yeah, so
So this would be the same. That's
Yeah.
probably gone as well.
Yeah.
For sure.
That's gone as well, yes.
okay.
And I don't have a current picture of that. We can certainly get hold of
No,
one, and
we'll
that would
have
be part of
somebody from
the
the planning office.
application.
Yeah, we'll have somebody from the planning office take a ride over there, just to make sure what's there works. You know, we can have you kind of clean it up as part of this package. But
Yeah, just I'm certainly open to your suggestions in terms of any ideas you may have, and we can share that with the architect and make sure that we get a plan for as the tenants turn over to be able to get that consistency.
yeah, I think you have a viable plan right now. We would just be looking at signs that aren't allowed, that have just kind of shown up on the building. I don't know if this talk to us about your residential mortgage is allowed, whether
Yeah,
that's
I
there
don't know
or
if
not,
that's
like
still there.
that wouldn't be allowed.
That's long gone.
Right, so I mean, little things like that, we would just make sure that, we could convey that to you so that you can make sure that your tenants take care of that. so that we can get this sign plan addressed on a whole.
One other thing that we like to put on the multi-tenant sign plans is window signage. Our code allows up to 25% of windows facing the road to have window signage. Windows not facing a road can't have window signage. So it would just be the windows facing East Genesee Street. And for, you know, if businesses do want window signage, we would ask for those calculations showing that it's less, 25% or less of their windows facing the road.
Okay. Yeah, again, I believe that those windows facing the road, that she does have some signs on those now, interior signs, because obviously it's not allowed to do an exterior sign there, other than what she's got across where the existing sign shows. It's obvious it's different now, because the healing point, I think, is the same, but the other part is clearly different because the realtor is no longer there.
Okay, so
Okay.
yeah, if the architect or whoever's doing the sign company, include that on the multi-tenant plan.
Sure.
So basically dimensions and area of the windows so that we can make sure that the signage is not more than 25% of it.
If I'm really successful, I'll find the original plans someplace in my paper files, because I don't have electronically, and then convert them electronically to be able to make a lot of that easy. Because obviously, that building was built, oh gosh, I think it was in around 2000. That was put up because it was originally a Priceless Kids store.
All right. You have enough feedback now to kind of get this pushed along?
Okay, we'll jump on it and try and get it moving as fast as possible. There's nothing that you've asked for that is, inconsistent with what we ultimately want to see as well. So I don't think we have any issues here.
Okay.
But again, the sign company and/or the architect we get may come up with other things, and so I want to be able to know that we can come back, and it'll either again be myself or my daughter Amy, who basically runs this. She just wasn't available this morning because she had to take the kids to school. But she and I will be interacting with you going forward to get all of this stuff exactly the way you're looking for it.
Perfect.
Great.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, how do I pick up, because I know this is being recorded, they usually have summaries. How do I actually get that summary to make sure that, if I can't read my own handwriting and miss something in the notes, I want to make sure that I didn't miss anything.
So we post the videos online. I can link you to that. And I can clarify anything that was asked for today. I can kind of give you a basic bullet point rundown of what we talked about. And
that would be
I'll link
terrific.
it to the recording.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. I truly appreciate it. And the bullet point makes life simple to make sure that I haven't missed anything.
Got it.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Take care.
All right, see ya.
Yeah, bye-bye.
We don't have, they're 8:30, so we got to change the use.
Might be showing up in person. So a couple of the things that I caught the applicant up on 3350 that we're still looking for.
Yeah.
Doug brought up more details of the staircase. It's not really detailed drawings of them, as well as the rooftop mechanicals screening.
Mhm.
They're
Doug
not
Arena,
really-
not-
Yes, Doug Arena. And there still has been discussion about additional landscaping in the front.
Something the ZBA discussed a little bit, where they're just striping around the accessible parking that basically people are gonna park up there.
Which I
Can you
think,
remind us of what the ZBA determination is?
They said there can be one tenant. They approved the parking variance as long as there's only one tenant in the building.
In the front.
and the applicant obviously aware of that.
Yep, the current
Yeah.
plans
There.
say that they variance granted stipulation that be one tenant.
Right.
Uh,
The space. Where
And the
ADA
signage.
parking.
yes, the signage,
Not just one
Yeah,
tenant in the
exactly.
entire building, right?
Say that again.
Not one tenant in the entire building.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One tenant in the entire building.
They were very constructive with size of the parking variance
We're ready for you when you are.
for two potentially high turnover tenants. Grocery store and the
Thank you.
and signage also.
I think their concern too was that the upper level has no ADA access really.
Well, the upper level had those doors that access right out to the, I mean, there's.
But you
Nope.
can't get to them from the parking,
Exactly, yeah. Go onto the street with a nice break.
right? Take a ride down the hill.
Yeah.
Well, right now it's one tenant, so we'll
Right.
worry about what's next when it comes,
Exactly.
if it comes, right?
Okay.
All right, Adam, I know you've been here several times for this project.
Think if I do this for a full year, I get put on payroll?
They still won't give me a key, so no.
So we were just catching this board up, the ZBA, approved the variance, condition to tenant.
Yep.
Something that came up more recently was a request for more detailed drawings on the staircase.
You want like typical stuff for like a code review, like the deck sections, detail on? Like construction of it?
Yeah,
Well, what are the materials? I think a couple details, just a simple cross section would be helpful. And some annotations about what it is.
Yeah, it's gonna be typical concrete rebar, but we'll get a detail on it.
So that tenant signage comes off. Or actually, all the signage comes off.
Yes, I was having it on there, I'm still in the multi-tenant sign plan mode, but now that it's just the one tenant, we'll ask that you just basically dash a box in. So.
Does the tenant know what their signage is yet? Do they want to approve signage as part of this?
I think he was gonna do exactly what I drew. Much there already, I didn't know box style says. Basic.
Maybe we can approve that plan as part of this, or the signage as part of the plan.
The location,
Yeah, we would need the details.
Yeah, we can certainly approve the location.
Yeah.
The tenant doesn't know really what they want their sign to be. I don't want something that,
Yeah,
you know.
wanna
Save
check
the
with the
liability.
tenant and see, otherwise I think this board's probably gonna wanna see the back of the signage.
That's fine.
Yeah.
If that he could.
But I would dash in, you know, that box outline, I would dash that in and,
Yeah, if
you
you're
know,
not. gonna
sign
do the sign.
location.
The one thing about this that doesn't work, and I didn't catch this earlier, the signs need to be 1 foot below the E height. So if this is 3, I don't know, if it's gonna be 1 there.
Well, you could probably tighten that box up a little bit around.
Would you prefer the sign get smaller, or if you just raise that?
There's a stipulation that it cannot be any closer than 1 foot to the E line. Or the parapet line.
So
this case,
raise the
so-
parapet?
Probably not raise the parapet, I would just draw a 1 foot line below the parapet and find it can't be any higher than that.
One thing that also plays into this in the front is gonna be your screening for the rooftop mechanicals.
Right.
So however that pans out. But we would ask that you kind of dash them in behind here so that the board can get a view of what it's gonna look like. Just try to screen them the best
Yes.
you can.
What does the board prefer for screening? Would that be done raising the parapet? On a fence behind that?
I would probably suggest having, you know, just mechanical screening behind that. I don't know that raising the parapet height right up on the street. Side like that is the best direction, but
I would agree with that, especially if the equipment is pretty localized behind it, just screen the equipment.
you know, something that matches the building color. Yeah, standard mechanicals for screening. Yeah, they'll just kind of disappear into the background.
So this is. The parking spaces are showing concrete wheel stops.
Yep.
How does the board feel about that? I think it has come up where it's been an issue for plowing in a more public place, was my kind of historical recollection of it. But I'm not sure if it really plays into a factor in a private parking lot. There is a guardrail here, because there's quite a grade change, and that guardrail is proposed to stay.
Yeah, I guess.
What was the kind of this wheel stop look like?
I'm trying to think of the last project that actually had them.
I know
can't-
everybody,
I can't even.
Yeah. people typically pull them out and
They pull them out, and often they're at the end of the winter. They're in the ditch.
I would just say the only thing I'm concerned about is that fence. You know, protecting that, because the guardrail's fine under the bottom portion, but the upper portion, that's.
Got that wood fence.
Are those gray bars the wheel stops?
Yeah. It should be.
Shouldn't they just be lined up to
Yeah, it
the
should be lined up,
parking stalls?
if we keep.
And then directly at the top of the stair, you're not counting that parking stall. Can you strike that, please, so that somebody doesn't park there and think it's a parking stall? I guess ultimately, I don't necessarily have an issue with the concrete wheel stops.
Are they gonna help cars from ramming into the fence? Cause the cars extend
Yeah, I mean, that's not where the,
beyond the
that's not where
wheel.
the wheel stop
It's
actually
so
would be
tight.
located. I mean, show where it should be located, but
I mean, I guess my question is, do you have enough room to put them where they would need to be in order to keep cars from?
Like when the car hit the fence
Yeah.
before the wheel stopped.
Yeah.
that's what I was saying, it's like they should actually be down into the parking stall.
Right.
But then you're
Show
not
them
gonna,
what,
then you're not gonna meet your dimension.
no,
Space
that,
properly.
the wheel stop doesn't impact the dimension of the parking stall, because the front overhanging car is still in there,
That's
it
fair.
just prevents the car from forward, it doesn't impact the size of the
Right, but
stall.
what about the turning radius of the cars backing out?
But again, you're not losing anything by the time you're kind of coming in this way, you should be going straight in anyway. You're just stopping where a car normally would stop, you're just preventing it from going any further forward. But it shouldn't impact the turning radius or anything like that.
That's gonna be a plowing nightmare.
And that, I would agree with, it probably will be a plowing nightmare, but. I mean, your other option is to put some sort of a guardrail, you're gonna have to, that's when you have to slide the parking stalls down, and then you're gonna run into issue with the. Drive lanes and everything that's there. You know, the best option probably is wheel stop.
Is there a preference over the concrete versus like the rubber ones, hard rubber?
I mean, I'd like to see what you're proposing, but
I mean, I was just proposing concrete anyway, but I don't know.
yeah, I mean,
Alright, so I can move those back, center them on the line.
Are those anchored?
what else?
I mean, it is unusual because it's so close and it's right
Right.
next to residential, so. I think it's a good idea overall in town, but.
Is landscaping?
And I guess my one concern with that, if you are gonna add more landscaping in the front, is still meeting your ADA loading space next to it. And then I don't know how that gets into permitting with DOT for adding.
I mean, any work in the state right of way requires a highway work.
Well, you could, the loading is on the right side in this instance, closer to the building, so you could
So like
plant
in front of the car.
between the building and the property line. I mean, you could take all. I guess all of that, make it. Planting. right? You see what I'm saying?
Where are you saying?
So from the bottom side of the car, the ADA spot, yeah, right there, down to the snow shelf could be planting.
And like on the left side also.
Yeah, on the left side also, because you're already planting up in that upper left corner. It's just extending that down, connect the sidewalk from the stair to, you know, I don't know if you go straight out or you connect it
I don't know if
over
we just kind of mimic the site, you know, kind of try to connect these, so we still have space in front of the car. So in case somebody wants to walk around with their handicap, you don't want to
Yeah, yeah.
step onto a curb.
the. Yep, I mean, that's,
Curb that, and then maybe just bring it flush here. So
and then so everything planned south of that becomes
Yeah.
planting
yeah,
down there.
so it's pretty.
Low shrubs so that there's, sight line. I mean, we're still really concerned about cars coming in off Erie. So. And then typically, I mean, do we want to have that granite curving back? I can't recall what the.
Flood here.
Yeah.
So-called flush to there. Yeah.
Right
Just
now.
in winter, when it snows and people start driving over the top of that, how do we define that edge? In there,
Have curbing.
I mean, you can probably drop the curb. To the snow shelf, and it's flush at the snow shelf, and then it rises from there, and then it just needs to return back to the inside corner. I think that gives enough definition, and then you can kind of plant right along that edge right there and take care of the ZBA comments.
So at one point, we had discussed this light. And I'm trying to reach out to
Oh, she came in,
the resident.
she had,
Was that the direct next door neighbor though?
she said she was. She was in that recording. She was hard to
Oh,
understand.
on
Yeah,
ZBA.
I thought she was a little further up.
Two houses up.
Two houses, okay.
Yeah, she's
I wasn't
not-
able to make that one, so.
Yeah, no, she's not the one directly behind the parking lot, she's.
But I think there was basically. People agreed that the light provides some sort of security, you wouldn't necessarily want a dark parking lot right next to you. And it's been existing, they tried to reach out, so that's just shown to stay.
Have
What's
you not
the-
been
what's
able
the
to
head
get in
on
touch
it?
with her,
It's updated.
next door
Is it
neighbor?
updated?
Yeah, it is.
Have you guys tried to talk to the next door neighbor?
Reached out to Utah Lodge for parking,
Yeah.
and they said no for parking, so we've done his due diligence.
But the next door neighbor wouldn't respond either.
Utah Lodge originally said okay to giving us like overflow parking and then back down.
That one's not updated,
All right,
this one's updated.
yeah, that one town, I think on that one.
Well, we
But they're-
thought it was National Grid, yeah,
Oh,
You don't have.
so I think we kind of just, we said we're not gonna touch those.
Yeah.
Is how we
Building
last
lights, but
recall.
what about the other one?
That one appears to be a National Grid tenant. Paid for by National Grid. provided.
Right, so they can update that head.
I don't know that that's the case. I don't know.
Well, I would ask that you talk to National Grid. And get that as a. I mean, bring the site lighting up to conformance, full cutoff.
And the remaining site lighting. You proposing any changes to? Have it soffit lighting under here?
I think I was just keeping that. We can update the LED, but everyone's tired.
If there's only gonna be one tenant, my opinion, holding side parking should disappear.
So the current plan is striping them as no parking.
A lot of it's in the town right away.
That's what I mean.
Yeah.
Right, but to Bill's point, if ZBA is granting the parking variance because it's only gonna be one tenant. I mean, still keeping the sidewalk that kind of runs the stairs down and then providing that access from the upper, but removing the
All of
pavement
that hardscape go
between. There's no
reason for it. It improves the appearance of the property of the town. And they do
And so also extend a curb through there.
The one on the side of there.
Yeah, I'm saying if you remove the hardscape, right?
Right.
So would that be a portion of it done by the town? Because the property line goes pretty far back.
That's a great ask.
I mean, that's the line, so we could do 5 feet of it.
And we did kind of talk with Highway about this, about filling it in initially. They didn't seem to have too strong feelings about requiring it to be. But obviously it was board.
As an electrical engineer, aesthetically, just.
But those will be questions, I guess, for the town, the highway.
Curious
Fire
where
access.
CVS would access this.
Good pressure on the holes, they're okay.
Hold on, I mean, they just pull up on the street. All on area or Sutton. They have 2 frontages, and they're fairly well covered. So yeah, I mean, talk to the town. About what it would take to remove that. I mean, I agree, if there's only one tenant, there's no need for those, simply striping it off and saying no parking, people are gonna park there. There's only gonna be one tenant, and that's the division of the VA. I would removing that, I mean, again, keeping a walk to connect the stairs, the upper parking all the way down. Makes a lot of sense,
Building side.
right? And then cleaning everything up between the sidewalk and the street.
Keeping those there's like dang.
Yeah.
Carrot.
Any other thoughts on that one? Kathy, Doug, Kevin?
Are we saying the applicant should work in the right of way?
I think what we're asking first is,
Yeah.
I think what we're asking first is for them to talk to the town, find out what. Can be worked out between the town.
Is that for him to do?
Dr. Rock.
Yeah.
I'll check with our highway department.
Just a different shade.
All right. Anything else?
So the existing, you're proposing to remove the existing old 10-inch, right?
Yeah, the plan is,
Those will be gone. So again,
and then we just won't put any new signage on the top of it.
yeah, unless he's sure of what he wants to propose, in that case, you could get it all done
Yep.
now rather than coming back. But we would need details of how the sign is.
Correct.
So if you don't have all the details, dash the box in, make sure it's a foot below the eave. Stop mechanicals. The existing lighting.
Yep. All right. You good? Appreciate it. Thanks, Adam. All right. Any other applicants, part sections, no other business? At this point, I'll close the work session. Thank you.